Welcome to this live lesson all about podcasting. My name is Danica Chapman, and I'm joined by my colleague Lucy. And you have someone special with you,
Hi, I've got
Lucy.
Cody with me today. Cody's with me today. Say hi. Hi,
Hello.
everybody. Hi. We do love Cody.
We do love
We're a bit
Cody.
partial. We're a bit partial. He has to come along to these things with us, doesn't he, Danica?
He likes to join in. He's been doing some really good podcasts recently, so
He
he's come
has.
to
Yeah, it's
share his
brilliant.
expertise. So, Lucy and I are primary school teachers. We were primary school teachers for many, many years, but now we get to have lots of fun with Purple Mash tools and resources. So I know that your schools, both of you classes, are fantastic users of Purple Mash. So hopefully you are logged into Purple Mash already and are ready to start. So I'm going to share my screen here and you can see my PowerPoint. So hopefully you've already logged into Purple Mash and are ready to start. Now, you might be using headphones today. Some of you might have a headphone set or a headset so that you can hear the audio when you're creating your podcast today. Now, what I'll do is in the session, when you're using your headphones, it'd be really useful if you do have them to use them when you're doing your creating side of things, when you're creating your audio. But when I do the teaching side of things, I'm going to ask you to take your headphones off so that you can hear me clearly on the whiteboard. Now, I've got a little headset. Mine has speakers here. I can listen to you on my headphones, and I've got a little microphone built into my headset. But you're going to be using the microphone on your device today to use it to record your voice in our podcast. So, in today's lesson, we're going to think about what makes a good podcast. We're going to learn how podcasts are created. And we're also going to begin to make our own podcast. We might not finish off our podcast today because we've only got one lesson. You might want to finish it off with your class teacher later on, but we're going to make a really good start and we'll be able to share what we've done today with everybody. So, first of all, we're going to use a tool called ToCast, which is a brand new tool in Purple Mash that enables us to record audio and use a library of sounds and musical intros and outros and all sorts of things to really make our podcast pop. Now, in a minute, I'm going to give you a chance to chat about these, think about these questions now, and then I'll give you a chance to chat to your talk partner. What is a podcast? Have you listened to a podcast? What was your podcast that you listened to about? How did you listen to it? Did you stream it on the internet? Did you listen to it on the radio? Maybe it was on an MP3 player. How did you listen to it? Why did you listen to that podcast and what did you learn perhaps? What were you trying? Why were you listening to it in the first place? What was great about that podcast? So, what we're going to do now is we're going to talk with our talk partners and tell them what you think a podcast is and perhaps share your experience of listening to a podcast. Now, I'm going to give you 2 minutes to do that. Are you ready? So, turn to your talk partner and see if you can answer some of those questions to your talk partner. Off you go.
We're all chatting away. I do love a podcast, Danica.
I was listening to one earlier today, Lucy, all about things for mums to know about.
A mum
which is quite good.
podcast.
A mum podcast.
I now have a
Good.
teenager, so I think I need to swat up on or maybe listen to some podcasts on being a mum of a teenager as of yesterday.
Happy birthday.
I like some of them have got good stories. I like it when a podcast contains a good story.
I like ones about music, podcasts about music, especially when people share their favorite music tracks maybe and talk about what inspired them and why they like those kinds of things. They're the kinds of podcasts I like. I hope everybody's chatting about their podcast experience. One more minute, everybody.
Miss North Early, you're not on our registration list. It's possible that you've got the link elsewhere, maybe even for me, because I know one person I've sent it to separately. So please do let us know. We don't share the chat, so please just let us know in the chat where you're from. That would be brilliant. That's really helpful. And what age children you are joining with, and that also helps us when we're delivering the session. So if you could pop those details into the chat, that would be really helpful. Thank you. Just while the children are chatting, about their podcasts.
Here we go. Countdown, nearly 10 seconds to go. Here we go. So start to end your conversations about podcasts. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, 0, and stop. Now, when I did this lesson with my year sixes last week or before the half term, my year sixes came up with lots of ideas that I'd not heard of before. They were talking about a podcast, and I can't remember the name of the person, but one of the people they were mentioning was a guy called Joe Rogan. You might have mentioned him. He does a podcast, but he videos his podcast. So a podcast is a little bit different to a video podcast, because a podcast, and if I click on here, it will tell us what a podcast is. A podcast is an audio format file that users can stream, that means watch directly or listen to directly on the internet, or download and listen to on a device. So you might be very familiar with YouTube and videos like that where people are chatting, perhaps interviewing somebody, perhaps a sports commentator might be interviewing their favorite football player or something like that. That's a video interview, but a podcast interview is where all you're doing is hearing the people chatting.
Some really
Now
good things come up in the chat on that note.
Yes. Oh, sorry, Lucy.
Somebody
Yes,
has put
yes.
that you can listen to them on Alexa, so that would be
yes.
audio only. And
Yeah.
some Alexas you can watch now, can't you? And listen to them in the car. So podcasts are great for listening to in the car, because you can't drive and watch the screen at the same time. So
That's
audio podcasts are brilliant to listen to in the car. And there's lots of ideas. Some have got news in, that is correct. Yeah, lots have got news in, talk about particular topics. And you listen to them, yeah. And music, like Danica said, she enjoys listening to the music one. So loads of really nice ideas in the chat there.
These are the kinds of things that I thought podcasts could be about. This is not everything, obviously, but these are some ideas I had. So you might listen to a podcast on politics, and that might be something that grown-ups do a lot. I know I do. Maybe special events, things that are coming up in your local area, perhaps you might have a podcast about that. What about sports? Some of you mentioned that. Your favorite sports commentators might have a podcast. A podcast about your hobbies. Local news, perhaps things happening in your school. What's coming up? If you've got a summer fair coming up at your school, you could do a podcast about that, perhaps. Your favorite music, including some music snippets or some little audio tracks of your favorite music. Some podcasts about mental health, how to stay safe, how to be healthy, how to make sure that you're looking after yourself. Some podcasts might be about stories, people reading stories. And I love podcasts about stories. My favorite book at the moment, the Harry Potter series, and I've definitely been listening to those in the radio, in the car with my children. They love them. Maybe some poetry podcasts. Now today we are going to make our own story podcast. We're going to use a podcasting tool in Purple Mash called ToCast. Now, before we do that, I want to listen to an example of a podcast. Now, this is my friend Jacob, and he has created this podcast. I want you to have a really good listen to this. Once I've played this to you, I want you to think about what you are hearing when we listen to Jacob's podcast. I'm just going to click on that, and I'm going to play his podcast. This is a podcast of a story by Claudine Tutongi called Voyage to the Bottom of My Bowl. Let's have a listen.
Voyage to the Bottom of My Bowl by Claudine Tutongi. I went deep sea diving for dumplings in a restaurant with my friends. The chicken broth was super hot and the seaweed gave me the bends. I went deep sea diving for dumplings. Full immersion was required. So I held my breath and plunged down low, right down to the sunken dumpling pile. I swear an octopus passed me and a cuttlefish ticked my cheek. But I kept my nerve and steered my course, right down to the deepest deeps. I chomped on a juicy morsel. Then up to the surface I rose, like a dolphin spouting sea spray. Chicken broth splurted out of my nose.
So that was Jacob's podcast. Now, let's have a think about this. What kind of podcast is this? What do you like about Jacob's podcast? Why do you like that part of the podcast? And what different audio elements did you hear? So are you ready again to chat with your talk partner? Let's have a go at 2 minutes. Are you ready? So find your talk partner. Tell your talk partner what you can hear in this podcast and what's your favorite part of it and why. Off you go. What did you like about it, Lucy?
I liked his expression. I really like Jacob's expression. I like the way he puts the expression into what he's saying. I also like the music. I was bopping it a little bit at the end there. It
like
brought
the
it to
little
life
outro.
a little bit.
Ooh,
Yeah, the
yeah.
outro. Yeah. Oh, that's a good word, isn't it? Outro.
Outro, yes.
Outro.
Yes. Outro,
Yeah.
intro and outro.
I feel like we could have an intro. Yeah. We had
Yeah.
an intro and an outro. They're important parts of podcasts, aren't they?
They are.
They get us in the mood. Bit of an intro, bit of an outro.
The
Perfect.
thing about that podcast, Lucy,
Yeah.
is that Jacob did it off by heart. He wasn't reading it. He knows that poem
He's a smart cookie, isn't
perfectly,
he?
word for word. He knows it from memory. So he did it, recorded it in one take. He didn't have to keep stopping and starting and redoing things. He knows it so well. He recorded it all in one go, in one take, they call that. And he did it from memory. It's fantastic.
He's in
Okay,
year
so
6 as well, isn't he? He's in year 6, isn't he?
he is in year,
Yeah.
he is in year 6, about to go off to high school. So I hope you're chatting about what you liked about Jacob's podcast. Teachers, please pop some ideas into the text chat for us. What do your class like about Jacob's podcast?
They thought it was funny. The noise effects were funny. Yeah, and they like the expression as well. Great.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Anything
Very
else,
funny.
Lucy? Anything else? People are popping in the text. I can't see the text chat,
No, that's
Lucy. I
fine.
apologise.
That's fine. Not a problem. It was a story podcast. Absolutely.
It is a story podcast.
And they like the
exactly.
music. They like the outro.
So let's have a chat now. Lucy's mentioned some things in the text chat that you've mentioned. The things that we really need to think about when we now start to create our own podcast are, first of all, the expression. So when we are reading our poem in our podcast today, we need to make sure we are expressive and that our voice is expressive, giving the expression that we want, because we can't see our hand movements. I talk a lot with my hands. We can't see that in a podcast. We have to use our voices to show our excitement and our expression.
They've written, Danica, in the chat, the exaggeration of the sound effects was entertaining. That's part of what makes the podcast entertaining, isn't it? Makes someone to listen to it.
Exactly. Well, that's the point. You want to listen to it. If it's boring, no one's going to listen to your podcast. So you need to make it interesting and entertaining. Now, the thing I liked about Jacob's one was at the end of every second line, he added in a sound effect that matched what he was saying. And as you've mentioned, someone put it in the text chat, some of those sound effects were funny. And that's the point. It's meant to be funny. So now we're going to make our own podcast. So can I ask you, everybody, from the homepage in Purple Mash, you will see a big tools egg on the homepage in Purple Mash. Click on that tools egg and then see if you can find at the top right, you'll see a tool called To Cast. It's Purple Mash and I'm logged in as Daisy Chapman here. I'm going to click on the tools egg and here is To Cast up here in the communicating and sharing section. So I'm going to click on that and open up To Cast. And the first thing you'll see is you've got this little box that says create a track. So I'm going to create a track and call it intro. Now you might know what intro means, but intro means short for introduction. So it's an introduction to our podcast. So I'm just going to call that intro track and click add track. So can you do that too on your screen? So you've got one intro track here. So let's have a look at the buttons, and I've got a screenshot here of some of the screen in TwoCast. The first thing you'll see at the top left there, underneath the Purple Mash menu, you'll see a big green plus and a red minus and this upload button, or this a button that you can upload audio tracks from the library, and there's a library of tracks we're going to use today. So can you find that on your screen? Right, the next section is down the left-hand side. You will see the names of the different tracks, and you're going to create some different tracks in a minute. At the moment, you'll only have one that says intro track. On each of the track titles, you'll see the title, and then you've got this slider that you can slide up and down to increase the volume of that particular track or decrease the volume of that track. The S button is the solo button. That means if I click the S button, I will only hear that one track. It's like a solo instrument playing, so it's one track playing just by itself. If I click the M button, the M stands for mute. That means I'm going to that particular track will be silenced, and I'll hear all the other tracks but won't hear that one. So let's see what else we're seeing. This is the audio regions. This is the main area of TwoCast, is this area here, and you'll see these little bar lines. These little bar lines down the top here showing the time as you move along through your tracks. This is where your audio will appear. So you can see it appears there as looks like sound waves. So when the sound is very loud, these sound waves look wider. When it's quiet, you'll see they are quite small. So the sound waves will appear on each of the tracks there. At the bottom left, you have the playback controls. Now, these are really important, so we need to know what these do. You'll see, first of all, you'll see that green play button. That plays from where our timer line is. Then we press the stop button, the blue stop button. The red record button is when we want to record our audio using our microphone on our device. We've got a rewind button here, which rewinds a little bit at a time. And then we've got a fast forward button, which fast forwards just a little bit at a time. And then we've got this button on the left here that goes right back, rewinds right back to the start. You click on that, it takes you right back to the start. This other button here on the right hand side takes you right to the end of your track. So we need to use those controls today. Now, if we're looking over to the right hand side of our screen in TwoCast, you'll see this purple line down the middle is the timer slide, and I can click and drag that along to move it to the position I want on my track. These buttons on the top right hand side underneath the exit button there are the edit tools. So I've got the cut button, the glue button, the delete, the copy button, and the delete. That enables me to cut, glue, copy, and delete sections of my audio, whichever sections I choose on the audio tracks here. We've got the zoom tools. We're going to use these in a minute. This enables me to zoom in so I can see all of the track, or zoom out so I can see just a small section of my track. And the last thing we have down here at the bottom, SFX, are the special effects. We won't be using special effects today, but later on when you edit your podcast, you might want to add some special effects onto your podcast. So the first thing we're going to do is add an intro. We've already got the intro track here. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask you to add your own intro. So just come with me. Click on this button at the top here. This button is to import an audio file from the library. So I'm going to click on that it looks like a little tray with an arrow pointing up out of it. That's the import audio button. And when I do that, I get this sound picker. Now, there are lots and lots of sounds down here. If I click on that drop down arrow, I've got lots of sounds. The first one that's already open for me are the intros. To preview these intros, you click on the little green play button, or the preview
and we say,
button.
don't do that yet, though.
Yeah, don't do that just
if you
yet.
do it, it will play. And you won't be able to hear Danica. So wait for Danica to finish before you click on any play buttons. If it's not too late, hopefully not. Watch Danica, and when she says you can press play, then press play.
I tell you what, I'm going to preview number 7, which is this one here, because this is the one I did this before, and I want to have this is one I want to choose. So I'm just going to preview it, see if you can hear it on my screen. So there you go. It's about 10 seconds long. Now, I think that's the one I want to choose. I'm going to choose it by clicking on the red picture here. So I'm going to choose that, and you'll see it's then popped into the audio track that says my intro track. So can you choose an intro audio, please?
Possibly also use transitions as intros. Some of them.
You could do, yeah. Some of those transitions are quite good as well.
If you want to have a broader look, and we've got time for you to have a broader look for a couple of minutes.
Ooh. That one's quite a short one. That's good.
I think they definitely could be intros if you want more of a range.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness, that sounds like
the third one's quite good. A drum roll.
Is it? Now my intro track is up here, and if I can click on it, it gets this purple line around it. I can't see all of it. If I use my rewind button, there's the beginning. If I use my fast forward button, there's the end, but I can't see all of it on the track because some of it's off to the left there. So I'm going to use the zoom feature up the top there and just click on the minus zoom. And then now I can see all of that track on my audio track, on my intro track there. Now it's a little bit long. You can see it's 10 seconds long. I'm actually going to cut some of it off. I'm going to play it back. So I'm going to move my time slider back to the beginning of my track, and I'm going to play it. And I want to play it and stop it around about there. So there is the time slide, and that is where I want to cut my audio tracks. I don't want this little bit at the end. So what I'm going to do is make sure my time slider is where I want it to be on the track itself, and use my scissors tool. I'm going to snip that section off. So now I've just got that first section. I want to keep that first section, but I want to delete this last section. I was going to click on that last section, and it's got this purple rectangle around it, and I'm going to click on the trash bin. So there we go. That's now my intro track, and I think it's about 7 seconds long now. So that's perfect. That's how long I want it to be. I'm just going to give you 30 seconds to see if you can edit your track. If you want to cut a section, select where you want it to. Just click and put the time slider where you want it to cut. Use the cutting tool and then select the bit you want to delete. Now, if you don't have to do that. If you make a mistake, you can use the redo button at the top here.
Undo.
I made a mistake. Yeah, the undo button. Sorry, the undo button.
Undo button.
I don't want. Yeah, exactly. I don't want to cut that bit. I want that bit on. So, and you can also, if you want to, if you've got two sections like this, you can actually use your shift key on your keyboard and select both of them, and I can glue them back together. Look at that. So they've been glued back together.
Two audio segments become.
Because this is the most important part of the lesson. Recording our vocal, recording our voice. So the first thing we want to do is click to add a new track. So click on that green plus button and add a new track and call it vocal track. Then we're going to click on the record button to begin our vocal recording. Now, this is the most important thing. So please watch this, everybody, before you start recording. When you record in TwoCast, if you're doing it for the first time, which many of you will be, you might get a pop-up that looks something like this. It will ask you, can I use the microphone? Purplemash.com wants to use your microphone. You must click allow while visiting the site. You might also get this pop-up that says Purple Mash wants to control and reprogram your MIDI devices. So click allow on that as well. So make sure you allow any pop-ups. So teachers, you might need to help people a little bit with that. So I'm just going to do that now in Purple Mash itself. So I'm going to click on this green plus to add a new track, and I'm going to call it vocal track. And I'm going to click on the record button in a minute to record my voice. So wherever I put the timeline here, This is where my recording will start. So actually, I want my voice recording to start here at the end of my intro. Now, before you start recording, let's have a look at what we are actually recording today. So we're going to have a go at recording some poetry. We're just going to record 4 lines. That's it. I want to write some funny stuff and make the people laugh. I want to write about a tortoise riding a giraffe. I wonder what sound a giraffe will make. Now, when I record my voice, I'm going to record my voice first, but I want to only recording the first 4 lines here. So I'm just going to record those 4 lines and I'll leave them on the screen for you so you can record them yourself in a second. But in a minute, after I've recorded my audio, I'm going to add some sound effects after the end of each line. So after where it says the word laugh, I'm going to add something in there, maybe some laughter or some applause or something. And I'm going to add an animal sound, a funny animal sound after the word giraffe. So let's have a go at recording your audio on using your microphone. So put your time slider where you want to start recording and press the record button. You'll have to wait to start with, and then I want to write some funny stuff to make the people laugh. And if I press the stop button, oh, it popped it into my intro track instead. I'm just going to drag it and slide it down there and put it onto my vocal track. So now it's on my green section. Have a go at recording your audio. Remember, if you make a mistake, use the undo button and start again. So the next part of our podcast is to add in the funny story sounds, the things that make it really exciting. You'll remember with Jacob's podcast, he added in the intro at the beginning, then a bit of a reading of his poem, and then he had some funny sounds throughout his reading.
He had a splat.
So, he had a splat. He had a dolphin sound when he talked about the dolphin. He had the dolphin sound. You had a bit where things come out his nose, the soup comes out his nose, and he had this kind of squelching noise. So it was quite funny. So what you're going to do is click on that green plus again up at the top to add a new track and call it story sound track. Then you're going to click the import audio button again and choose from the library of sounds. Now, this time, if I just minimize that, I'm going to add a track here. So I'm going to click on the green plus and call it story sounds or story sound track. There it is down the bottom here. Now I'm going to upload or add something from the library. So click on that purple import audio again. Now there are dozens and dozens of sounds. I need to think about where I want my sounds to go. Now, if I play back my track, if I play it from here, and I'm just going to play my track, I want to write some funny stuff to make the people laugh. Now, I want to add it there between the word laugh and where I start the next part of the reading, but there isn't any space there. So I'm going to move this section of audio and just move it along. You might need to cut it first. You might need to cut your section of audio so that you're separating it into 2 parts, and then you can drag this section and move it along a bit. So I'm just going to move that along, and in the middle here, down on this story sounds track, I'm going to add in some sounds. So let's put my time slider exactly where I want that story sound to start here on my story sounds track, and I'm going to use the upload button here, and that was a laugh picture, was a laugh word. So I'm going to go down to this one here, the Too Simple Classic. Now, I don't actually have a laugh. I don't think there is a laughter sound, but I quite like the idea of it being something that isn't a laugh, like it could be a splat.
Or a clap.
Or a clap. I like the clap. Let's have a listen to the clap. Excellent, yes.
A little bit of laughter.
I like that one. There's a bit of laughter, yeah, a bit of cheering. So it's quite a long track. There you go. So I've got my intro at the top here, then my first part of my reading, and my blue section down here is that applause. Now I can see, if I use my zoom again, I can see that my applause goes on a little bit long. I'm just going to drag my vocal audio track over so that it starts after that finishes, or I could kind of overlap them a little bit. Let's just move my cursor to here, and then I could play. I'm just going to play from there. Press play. Oh, there's the end of my audio for my. I want to write about a tortoise riding a giraffe. Now, again, I don't know if there's a tortoise or a giraffe sound, but if I use my upload picture again, there is a section or a selection of animal sounds. Now, you might want to choose a funny animal sound, one that perhaps isn't a giraffe, because I don't think there is a sound. I'm not sure what sound giraffes make. I've never heard them. Not even sure if there's a tortoise picture and a sound in there. But I like this one. I like the sheep one.
It doesn't sound like a giraffe at all, Danica.
Oh, no.
Can I say, though,
yes,
if you were to go back to that stage at a later date when you're developing your podcast, there is an upload button. So if you want to find or had or make the sound of a giraffe, then you could use the upload button.
You could, exactly, Lucy. You could find an MP3 from another website if you like.
Yeah.
You can
so perhaps not today in this session because you won't have
yeah.
time to do that today. But when you come back in here in future, you could edit and change the sound for one you've uploaded if you'd like to.
You could add your own voice in here where it says laughter. I mean, I could do that actually. I could record myself doing my laughter. But what I'd like you to do, go and see if you can add in some story soundtracks into your podcast there. Think about where you want them to be positioned in relation to your vocal recording. Think about where you want them to be. Position them in the right space. Move them into the right position. Maybe cut them, edit them as you go. And then play it back to yourself. Move the slider back to the beginning or rewind right back to the beginning and play it back to yourself and see if you're happy with it as you go. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do that because that's quite a lot to do.
If they wanted an outro, they should add it in at this point as well, just looking at the time. So if you want an outro, once you've added your story sounds, go ahead and do your outro. Otherwise, you'll have to do it after the lesson, I think. Because
I'm going to add an outro up here, actually. Intro and outro. So I'm going to add an outro up here
at the end.
Add my outro.
So go ahead and add your story sounds and your outros.
I might add one of those transition sounds. I like that one, Lucy.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
I think that's my.
Don't worry if you can't get it added in. You will be able to save this and add it in at a later date.
Okay, using the menu at the top, I call this a burger menu, the purple menu at the top there. Click the save button. So the first thing you're going to do is use the blue save icon. Call your podcast whatever you like. I'm going to call mine Story Podcast Funny. You're saving it in your My Work. So save it in your folder that says My Work and click save. So save your work and it should then say saved as and then whatever you called your podcast. So just double check you've clicked the save button first. So use the drop down menu, click the save button first. When you've saved it, now I want you to share it. Now this might be something you're familiar with, but I love display boards. Display boards are up here. If I click on the menu again and go down to the share button, this one here that looks like these little sharing arrows. So click on the share button and use the button at the bottom that says display board, the option at the bottom that says display board. Click on that. Now there is a display board here called Podcasting Live Lesson. Select that one until it's gone purple and click OK. And it should tell you your work has been added to the display board. So let me show you that again. After you've saved it, you come back to the sharing option in the menu here. Select the display board option at the bottom. Choose the podcasting live lesson and click OK. Mine's grayed out there because I've already added it, so I can't add it twice. So I'm going to come up to the sharing area. So teachers, you might want to do this later on as well. Up here in the sharing tab at the top here, you will see this tab that says Global Display Boards. Here is the podcasting live lesson. So let's have a listen. So, here we go. Let's have a listen to this one.
I want to write some funny stuff to make the people laugh. I want to write about a tortoise riding a giraffe.
Oh my goodness, that is hilarious. Did you hear the donkey, Lucy? That is so brilliant. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
you
you
so much for coming.
It was brilliant. It's been brilliant. It's real fun. Real fun. So, Danica, I'll let you finish off with the class up there.
Think about today. We're just thinking about, did your podcast turn out as you expected? What did you learn about creating a podcast? Did you encounter some issues? I think maybe having lots of people in the same space that you're recording your vocal was a bit tricky. You're hearing lots of other people on your audio recording. So maybe when you do your next podcast, you might want to find a nice quiet space to do your recording. So we are going to finish today. Thank you so much, teachers. Thank you, children, for coming along to the lesson. I hope you had lots of fun. What we're going to do, we're going to continue to approve those podcasts that your children have created, and we'll leave that display board up for you so that you can listen to the podcasts that your children have created as the week progresses. So you can keep listening to them tomorrow and next week as well. Remember, you can keep working on your podcast and add them to the display board if you like. If you make more changes to it, you can add them again to the display board. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you, Lucy, and thank you, Cody, for coming. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. Sorry, I was busy listening to the podcast then for a second.
Thanks, everyone, for coming. Have a great afternoon. Thank you so much for being part of our lesson today.
Thanks so much. And Cody says bye.